Foreign Buckets Podcast, Episode 1. I'm your host, Dwayne Morgan, a.k.a. Chip Overseas. You can call me either one. Some of y'all know me as Dwayne. Some of y'all know me as Chip Overseas. And let me break that down a little bit for you guys so there's no confusion. Dwayne is the hooper, the basketball player, had a 9-year career overseas. A family guy. I don't even know what else you guys want from Dwayne. Chip Overseas is my content. Chip Overseas is my voice. It's my brand. It's what I developed while being injured. You guys know the struggle of an injured basketball player. If you don't, maybe you don't. If you don't, then I'll tell you. You have a lot of time on your hands. There's a lot of uncertainty, especially if you didn't make it to the NBA. You don't have millions of dollars, so you can't just sit down and just think about, man, life is hard. You got to get up and you got to get active. So for me, my venture after basketball was always going to be in media, and that's what I'm doing now, media and training, because I also have a basketball training business. I'll tell you guys more about that later. So, just to catch everybody up, you might have seen me on the NBA page. You might have seen me on Insta. You might have just seen me here on YouTube. Just to let you guys know, I'm going to give you guys some updates too on the content and everything that's been going on with me lately. So I've done 3 collabs on socials with the NBA. It's funny because if you follow this page, you know that about 3 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, I made a video about the NBA All-Star Game, and I was saying how the NBA should really partner with people that's like more aligned with what they believe in and how they see the game being represented. And that was the year, that was the All-Star game where they had Mr. Beast and Kevin Hart. You guys probably know that. And it's like, it's great that you guys are getting the big names, but maybe you should partner with basketball people that actually have a voice in the audience within your game. And so I didn't even have communication with the NBA at that time. I was kind of foreshadowing what would happen over the next 3 months. So recently, I did 3 collab videos. I did one about Karl-Anthony Towns and his transition from Minnesota to New York. I did one about, who else did I do? Alex Caruso, and how he's such a defensive Swiss Army knife. He can guard 1 through 5. And I did a video with the Larry O'Brien trophy, which you guys might have seen somewhere. And I kind of just told a story about what the Larry O'Brien trophy meant to me and the 1994 NBA Finals and the impact that had on my culture and my community, which is Jamaica. And I'm actually on the Jamaican national team, and, you know, it just sparked a whole fire under the new demographic, the new generation of Jamaican hoopers. And so that's what's been going on with me. I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's a viral clip going around with Lance Stevenson and Dwight Howard getting into it. Lance Stevenson and I believe, who was it? Jordan Crawford, the guy who dunked on LeBron back in the day, were getting into it. And it had me thinking, I'm like, the state of basketball, it's great because everybody is like inclusive, right? Everybody can participate in the game that we all grew up loving. But the spotlight being on the 3x3, the spotlight being on the men's league, especially, man, there's always these men's leagues that pop up, and you have actual, like, narratives around men's league games. Like, it's actually kind of interesting because a lot of content creators, too, obviously I'm doing content now, a lot of content creators I see, they're, like, showing the park games that they get into, and they're showing, like, yeah, this men's league game, I'm averaging 30. And it's like, yo, I never once thought that was an interesting enough piece, like basketball in the men's league, to be considered compelling content. But, man, shout out to those guys, man. They're finding ways to cover these intricacies of basketball and make everybody feel like they're included, right? Because not everybody's going to be a pro player. You know, that's for the top 1% is going to go to the NBA, and maybe the top 4 or 5% is going to go overseas. So all the guys that still hoop, shout out to you guys for, you know, figuring out your way, and, you know, you're doing the game that you love. You're still able to play and be active. And shout out to all the creators too. But, yo, it's crazy, man. Y'all got to calm down, man. The Big Three is a great, great thing that they have going on. Y'all don't get paid enough to be acting a fool in big three games and men's. Yeah, man, just compete at a high level. I get it. I get it because I've seen a lot of basketball fights on the court in my day. And the ones that were getting in fights weren't the serious hoopers. Like the ones that were getting into the fights were like the friend that he plays on Friday, Saturday, Sunday with the homies, but he ain't really taking it serious. But my take that I had on the Lance thing was like, hey man, get your stuff together, Lance. Get your stuff together, bro. I get it. And there was a lot of talk about Lance possibly joining like a serious league and him like thinking about getting back into serious competitive basketball. I think after seeing him in the one-on-one versus Beasley, you guys seen that. There comes a time in every Hooper's life where he has to say like, all right, man, I'm done. Like, I don't have it. Like, once you get past a certain point, there's no coming back. Like, I did a video about Allen Iverson. And Allen Iverson, if you don't know, he played overseas. After he was done in the NBA, I think he took a year off after his last NBA contract. And who knows what he was doing in that year, right? And this brings me back to the Lance point. It's like, once you go off and touch retirement for a little bit and you're drinking, you're hanging out, you're going to the clubs, you're partying, you're doing your lifestyle, and you're not working out and practicing every day, it's hard to get back into it, man. So when Allen Iverson signed to Beşiktaş in Turkey, he was 36 years old, right? And I posted this video, went viral on Instagram, and people were saying, like, yo, he was old back then, man. Like, you can't hold it against him because he looked, like, so slow and so small on the court. It's like, oh, man, like, he was old. I'm like, he was 36. Bron is 40. Allen, like, Kevin Durant is, like, 38. Steph Curry, like, James Harden is older than Allen Iverson was, and they're competing at a high level in the NBA, right? But once you take that time off, 36, with a year off, that's more like closer to 42, your basketball age. Especially Allen Iverson, he did take a lot of bumps and bruises, but it definitely brought up a interesting conversation around like how old is too old for basketball players and high-level athletes in general. Like, if you're 36, especially in today's day and age, like, I don't think 36 is that old. Like, I always thought that I was going to play until I was, like, 37. But then again, like, I never thought that I was going to be, like, limping across the finish line. Like, I wanted to be whole, mind, body, and soul, like, going into the next phase of my career. So 36, like, especially if you're an NBA level talent and all NBA, all MVP, top 75 level talent at 36 years old, you technically should be able to walk into an overseas situation and do some things, And it's funny because when I posted that video, everybody was like, up in arms, and everybody had their own take. The Americans were saying like, man, take it easy on our guy, man. That's AI. And then the Europeans were like, yeah, I was at that game. Like, he looked bad. And the thing about AI in that game was, like I said, he looked slow. He didn't have that quick burst. He looked small because they let you play so physical overseas. So all the NBA guys that come overseas, it's like, you don't realize how good the whistle is in the NBA. You don't realize it because everybody's used to the game. Like, we've been watching the game for our whole lives. But, like, that NBA whistle, when you come overseas, like whether it's in an Olympic competition or whether it's in club play or EuroLeague play, whatever the case is, that whistle gets a lot tighter. So a guy like AI, when he came overseas, he was used to getting a certain whistle. He's used to like a level of physicality, and then when you get into the international play, that level of physicality, it rises that much more because guys can touch you up. And there was a guard. Hold on, I'm gonna get his name right now. There was a guard. His name was Omer Onan. And I'm sorry, Omer, like, I'm sure you're a legend in Turkey. Like, everybody was in the comments saying, yo, that's number. Because I was alluding to a player, like, literally just physically dominating AI. And you're not used to seeing that. Like, you're used to seeing that Tyronn Lue, even MJ got it at one point with AI. And Omer Onan was, like, putting AI in a torture chamber. Like AI couldn't move. He couldn't get a shot off. He couldn't even get the ball. right? There was this one clip where AI is running off his famous AI screen, right? Everybody knows the AI screen. Even overseas, everybody loves to call it the Iverson cut. And he's running off the Iverson cut, and '09 is in a full out like deny, fighting over each screen, and AI doesn't catch the ball to initiate offense until he's already by the half court line. Whereas in the NBA, he's catching it at the 3-point line, 45-degree angle, and he's ready to operate. That's how he got a lot of his buckets from the AI cut. So '09, man, it's like, you got these strong guards overseas, man. They play full court, 92 feet, lock up defense, and they're allowed to bump you and touch you and make the game difficult for you. It didn't look the same. It's funny because at the end of the video, I alluded to this guy named Meyer Chapman. And shout out to Chapman, man. I'm going to get him on the pod. Obviously, this is just episode 1. I'm going to get him on another episode in the future because I kind of said that AI's teammate Chapman outplayed AI, which it was true. And Chapman had like 15-4 because he was an overseas vet. Sure, in his younger years, AI was a lot, higher rated than him. But when you come overseas, the playing field is leveled. They don't care about where you came from. They treated AI like AI started the game. He started the game, and then he came out with like 6 or 5 minutes left in the first quarter, and then in the second quarter, he pretty much didn't touch the court. The coach don't care that you AI in Europe. So I kind of said that Meyer Chapman, like imagine being Meyer Chapman, you telling your kids one day that you outperformed AI, which he did in the game. And he hit me on DMs. He was like, yo, D, man, like, yo, Chip. He hit me in the DMs. Chip, man, I didn't outplay AI. AI's the GOAT. And he was just singing AI's praises. And I'm like, yo, that's cool and all. Yeah, I got respect for AI too. But you ain't got to lie to me, bro. The tape don't lie. Oh, man. So if I was trying to get overseas in 2025, right? If I was a rookie or some guy that had a pro career but took some time off or whatever the case is, and you're trying to get overseas, now I'd approach it a lot different than I did back in 2015 when I was coming overseas, which is 10 years ago, And in those 10 years, like, there's such a huge gap. Like, the technology is at like an all-time high right now, right? As we know. Social media, like, the first thing I would do is tighten up my social media presence. Like, at this point now, I've been on so many teams. And anytime players, because, like, coaches will always ask the American guys, like, about our opinions on other American guys. Like, hey, man, like, have you seen this guy? Like, I'm thinking about signing this guy. Or maybe next year, his agent told me to look him up or whatever. And so the first thing that they always do is they go to the Instagram page. Like, those days of you checking the, your college website, nobody's looking at that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we want to see you first. That's how the teams are thinking. What is his IG presence? So your IG presence has to be like, it has to shout aspiring pro. Everything you do is tailored to being a pro, right? You're posting your workouts. You're telling your story. You're showing the things that you already know that you have to be better at. Like, I have so many friends that are basketball influencers. Like, shout out Jesse Jones, Filet. Like, these basketball influencers are getting legitimate opportunities based on just the social aspect of the game. Like, they're getting a lot of followers. They're having a compelling story, and they're showing that, yo, I work out every day. Like, this is my life. Like, I'm actually trying to do this. Not saying that you have to be an influencer to get overseas, but it's one of those things where if you don't have that working for you, it can work against you. When I say that, I mean, like, you can easily lose an opportunity because, you showing guns or you sagging your pants and you taking gas station pics, which that's his own thing. Everybody want to take a gas station pic nowadays. They think they're a little baby. But if you want to do that, put that on another page and just create a basketball page. Show your highlight tape. Put your college highlight tape, pin it. So we ain't got to look for it. These guys don't want to do the work for you. Show me everything you got right there in the pen. I got my college highlights. I got a video that has 50,000 views of me working out and telling a story, and that just makes it that much more compelling as a prospect, for these overseas coaches. Then I'd like tighten up the highlight tape as well. Like your highlight tape has to be that good resume. Like I always say, the first 2 minutes of your highlight tape is the most important. You got to land who you are as a player in the first 2 minutes, because if you're putting, what you do, if it's all about how you pace it. Let me put it like that. It's all about how you pace it. So you want to start out strong. Show the whole arsenal of what you do. Let's say you're a pick and pop 4-man. In the first 2 minutes, don't just post a bunch of clips of you dunking on people, because the agent and the teams is gonna be like, oh, he's just a dude that dunking everybody. And then when you come and you don't get no bodies, they're gonna look at you like, yo, what you doing, man? Like we gonna send you home because we wanted somebody that's dunking on people. So if you're a stretch 4 big, show you catching off, you dribbling pull ups, you pick and pop tray balls, like show what you do in the first 2 minutes. And then afterwards, because after the first 2 minutes, if the coach or agent doesn't like you, he's not watching the rest of the film. So afterwards, and still, even if they do like you, they still might not watch the rest of the film. They just have what you did in the first 2 minutes in the back of their head the whole time. So what you want to do is, after that first 2 minutes, then you show the full arsenal. Okay, this is how I score in a pick and roll. This is how I defend. This is how, and you want to use clips of you giving weak side defensive help and you being engaged on weak side defensive, whether you're coming over for a block, whether you're digging in for a steal, because I would say that's one of the biggest differences between U.S. and overseas is how we play in defense. Overseas, you have to always be engaged because weak side turns into strong side so fast because that ball gets ping, 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 moved around so damn fast. So you have to be you have to be showing the full arsenal of like, all right, I can keep up. When you guys bring me over here, I'm keeping up. I'm not going to be some lost puppy. And then, with the highlight tape too, you don't worry about the music. Don't worry about the edits, the transition from scene to scene. Doesn't matter. These guys are probably going to be looking on their phone with the volume all the way off. Like, that's how people are watching your highlight tape now. That's why I say also put it on social media. And the last thing is that you want to get referred, man. Like, the world is so small with social media that, like, I have so many friends online that I have never met. Like, you guys know how it is. So, for me, if I was trying to go, like, I would target guys that's, like, in the markets that I want to be in. And I'll, buddy up with him a little bit and say, hey, man, like, who's your agent, by the way? Or then, hit him in the comments a couple times and then just hit him one time, like, yo, who represents you? Because once guys get overseas, once your foot's in the door, like, you're straight. You know what I mean? So, especially if you're doing good things overseas, shoot, sometimes a coach might come up to you and be like, hey, man, like, one of our players just went down. Do you have anybody from back home that you can, recommend for us? You'd be surprised how many times I've heard that in my career. Yo, you know a big man? Because I'm going to sign one, so I might as well sign one that is familiar with somebody on the team already, so that'll help the transition a little bit, in that way, either way. So, you want to talk to your boys, your homies that hoop, ask them for who represents them, ask them for, tell them like, yo, I'm ready, man. Put yourself on the market, put yourself out there. I'm ready. If there was ever a chance to get an opportunity, I'm coming for it. You understand what I'm saying? So, leverage your relationships. And this is all one take, man. If you're not entertained, man, I don't know what to tell you. This is all one take. We're not doing edits. We're not doing cuts and, I'm in the studio right now. My girl's in the other room. We're not doing all of this, super, super highly edited stuff, man. I'm going to give you guys all in one take. And also, I want to update you guys along the way as well. Like, I want to just make sure that you understand what's going on with this page, with this channel. I'm going to Summer League, Vegas Summer League, and I got a lot of connections in Summer League. I'm not going to reveal who and what, but some big, big storytelling opportunities from the NBA side and the overseas side will come out of this Summer League for me and for my personal content, my personal brand. I just wanted you guys to just, know what to expect. This channel, I see it a lot in the comments. Like they say, yo, man, you're going to take off. I'm not worried about taking off. I'm worried about getting all of my ideas, all of my concepts, all of my content out to you guys the right way. If you guys rock with it, you rock with it. If you don't rock with it, then don't rock with it. Like there's no pressure for me, man. I'm not trying to, get a million followers. That's not the goal. The goal is to have my creativity pushed out there in a way that is, a good representation of my perception of the game. That's all I want to do. And if you made it this far, if you haven't already subscribe to the channel right now. Go ahead, subscribe, man, because it doesn't hurt. The goal is not to get a million, but if I get a million, it doesn't hurt. Moving on, overseas news. I'm gonna give you guys some quick stories that's bubbling overseas, and some signings and some situations that you guys should care about and should follow if you're interested or even intrigued a little bit of the overseas game. So, overseas news, Brandon Davies signed a historic $3 million Japanese deal across 2 years. So in Japan, if you don't know, Japan is a money market, right? Guys go to Japan and they they cake up. And the only thing about Japan is that you earn your money, right? Like I always say, so the money overseas is like you get paid for your workload almost, if that makes sense. So when you see these EuroLeague guys, right? EuroLeague, Mike James, Kendrick Nunn, Nigel Hayes, when these guys sign their multi-million-dollar contracts, like they're also playing like 70 games in a season. Because they got EuroLeague games once a week. They got domestic league games once to twice a week. They got domestic cup league games. Like there's all sorts of games that they have to play. And so when you see the money, it's like, it's less than the NBA. Well, they also play less games than the NBA. But then you might look at it like, well, it's a lot more than just a domestic league team. Yeah, because they're also playing in so many more competitions. And from a hooper standpoint, it's like you don't mind that because like we love to hoop, yo. Like I don't know one hooper that rather practice than hoop. For me, like I always practice hard. Like one thing for me, that's not negotiable. Like you got to practice hard. But the game is fun, man. Like so we don't mind doing it, but that's why also you're getting paid so much is because you got the spotlights on you, you got the eyes, you got the fans are coming in, the fans pay our paychecks. So you're at the big clubs and you're getting paid for what you put out. And so in Japan, it's just one of those leagues, like it's one of those countries. Even if you're in, so the Japan has 3 major leagues. They got the B1, B League, and B2 League. B2 League is technically the 3rd division of Japan. Their lowest ticket, like the lowest you can make in that league, is going to be higher than anything you can make in, a lot of first leagues overseas. It's just one of those markets. But they work. They I don't want to say they work you because that sounds harsh. But you earn that money, man. Like that's not just giving money for nothing. You understand what I'm saying? So he signed $3 million. Congrats to Davies. Some of you guys might know him from his time, and I believe he went to Notre Dame. Fact check me on that. And he spent a lot of time in Europe. And that's what you do. You either come from the NBA and you go to Asia because Asia is a big money market, or you come from a fringe NBA, maybe not, and then you go overseas. You build your name in Europe, and then you can ride out in the sunset in Asia. And that's what he's doing now. The Israeli Winners League playoffs is postponed until further notice. Obviously, I don't have to get into all that stuff. The politics side of it, if you know, you probably should know. I'm not going to say it, but if you know, you know. But that's one of the things I was keeping my eye on. Even early in the season, September, October, when Patrick Beverley, I don't know if you remember, Patrick Beverley, he had signed to a team in this country. And I was making a lot of videos kind of saying like, hey, I don't know if that's the right thing, because I'm like, you just kind of look at the situation as like, you have to make these decisions sometimes like bigger than basketball. That's the thing about overseas is that your decision-making process has to be global and you have to think like beyond the game. Like I remember one time in Serbia, man, like I was fringe about the sign to Serbia. I had some other countries that were interested, but the Serbian thing was very intriguing to me at the time. And I was like, all right, you know what? I hit my boy up. My boy's like, yo, you good? Like, that place is straight. The money is on time, whatever. And then I Googled the city, and it was like right on the Kosovo border. And there was like all these reports that like there were bombings heard near the border. And I was like, wait, what? So I ended up like reaching out to the agents, which you can't do this. This is the point of this whole thing. I ended up reaching out to the agents. I'm like, hey man, like, I'm reading all these reports that, there's like bombings on the border. Like, so is everything safe there? Like, how is it on foot on ground? And they're like, no, don't worry about it. That's just American propaganda. They want to make Serbs look a certain way, and Eastern Europe they painting it like this, like that. And at the time, I remember thinking, I was like, wait, propaganda? I was like, okay, they might have a point with the propaganda part, but like, was there bombings or not? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, their job is to take care of the basketball season, right? Their job is to make everybody, put everybody in the best position to win basketball games. Some of these guys that run these, leagues and clubs and all that stuff, they're not even tapped in with the politics side of it. I'm going to get into a story later about what happened in the Ukraine in 2019, how players were actually stuck there. And it's like, that was the last thing that would have been on their minds, because these agents, these coaches are telling them, don't worry about that, man. Don't worry. That's propaganda. Don't worry about that. Nothing happens here. And it's like, yeah, but like things are bigger than basketball. But Israeli, like I said, I'll get into that a little bit later. The Israeli Winners League is officially postponed. Thiago Splitter is coming to Portland. That makes him the second Paris basketball coach to leave to the NBA in back-to-back seasons. Because as we know, you've seen it on my page by now, I'm sure. But Coach Isalo, left, and now he's the head coach at Memphis. And now Splitter left, and so you have to look at Paris basketball, right? It's either one or two things. One, it's luck, right? It could be luck. Say, Isalo, they got lucky with Isalo. They brought him in, and he set the blueprint that Splitter was able to follow, because Splitter pretty much ran the same system that Isalo did, right? Tomas ran, he set the blue. It's kind of like a Mark Jackson. Look at that, like a Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr situation. Mark Jackson laid the blueprint, right? The GM kind of drafted the pieces, and Steve Kerr took that to another level, but still, like, there was a lot of stench of Mark Jackson on that team, not in a bad way. In Paris, it's the same thing. Like, Isalo left a pretty big, like, void. And, also he left for a good opportunity. Like Mark Jackson, maybe that's a bad example because Mark Jackson ended up getting fired. But, yeah, Splitter just kind of ran the ship, Like, the players are the same players from the previous coach, and they kind of know what they're doing. Of course, Splitter comes in with his own philosophies, but he kind of just was the captain of the boat. And you can look at it like that, or you can look at it like, all right, well, now Paris basketball is about to be a serious, like, powerhouse, right? Because 2 in a row, it's like a Kentucky one and done kind of thing. Like, once one or two guys from, back-to-back classes go one and done, you might look at it like, oh, this is the one and done place. Like, I need to go here to get one and done. So Paris is sneaky on the list, on the radar of every top European coach that has NBA aspirations. Maybe I'll go there and, get my NBA career off the board. Because as we know with Coach Tomas, you go to the NBA as an assistant, that same year you might end up being the head coach because there's so much turnover with these coaches. So yeah. And just for everybody, for context, this is what happens when you change coaches in the middle of a season overseas. It becomes like everybody's thinking the same thing, but nobody says it, right? Once a coach is like signed his deal for the next year, because don't forget, it's still a business. Coaches are looking for their next deal just like players are looking for their next deal. So it's still a business. These coaches, once they figure out their next deal, it always gets leaked. I don't know who is leaking this information. Maybe it's their agents. Maybe they're trying to do bidding wars. I don't know. But the information always gets leaked from at every level, right? So the information gets leaked. Then all the players, and his the players group chat, the players like, yo, did y'all see this? He's out of here. And then you start thinking like, damn, were the signs there? And then the coach comes in, he says, oh yeah, well that report is BS, don't worry about that report. He either says that or he says, I know there's reports going on, but I'm completely committed. And you don't know if that's true or not. Because if I'm Tiago Splitter, like I might be thinking about I might be thinking about what I'm going to bring to Portland after this season. It might be true. Right now, Paris basketball is up in the series against Monaco, but, that's a tough spot for Splitter to be in. It's a tough spot. I'd want my coach to be good, wherever he's going from here. But at the same time, like, he's probably thinking, like, this ain't it for me. Once you get that, as a player, once you see your coach got his deal for next year, you like, man, I gotta hit my agent right now too, because shoot, all the talk, all the thoughts of me coming back to this team might be over. It might be over once your coach leaves. So we got just a quick update. Right now, pretty much every domestic league is in their playoffs, and just a quick update of all of the domestic leagues going on in recent games. In the BetClick Elite, which is the French Pro First Division, if you don't really like the international leagues, you might want to skip this part. I only skip to about 2 minutes because this is going to be quick. Paris basketball is up 1-0. Oh, there you go. I just said it. But, I guess Tiago Splitter is locked in. They're up 1-0 against Monaco. Monaco, their best player, Mike James, which you probably know, he's one of the best players in Europe. Definitely one of the biggest names. He is not playing this series. He's suspended. Details a little weary, but he violated team violations. We got TJ Shorts in game 1. He put up a 30 ball, and it's the best of 5. So TJ Shorts, if you don't know, he's one of the best players in Europe. I'm going to do a European overseas player power ranking after this. But, yeah, TJ Shorts, if you don't know, go ahead and Google him right now. He's on the radar to sign with the Memphis Grizzlies right now because his ex-coach, Tomas Isalo, just went there, and there's a whole backstory. If you want anything more deep dive on that, go check out my content because I cover it in depth. And the ACB, Spanish First Division, Unicaja is up 2-1 versus Real Madrid. Unicaja is one of those teams, lower budget. They're not really supposed to be competing with the Real Madrid. But, they got all the guys that have been playing together for a couple of years. They got guys that play hard like Tyson Perez. Quick shout out to Tyson Perez. I played against him my second year in Spain, 2018. And a lot of the Spanish guys on my team were scared of this guy, because we were in the second division, and the next year he was like gonna for sure be in the first division, and he has a big name there. He's not. I believe he wasn't born in Spain, but he played there for many years, and he's really like a dog. He didn't get the name Tyson for no reason. Marcelinho Huertas, Tenerife, 42-year-old veteran guard, Brazilian guy. He is still dominating at a high level. His team is up in their quarterfinal matchup. And, just a quick shout out to him because he's Champions League, which is the third division of the European competition, and ACB, which is the first division of Spain's domestic league. He's the MVP at 42 years old. Because we look at LeBron and we give him all the praise because he's 40 and he's doing his thing. Like, this guy is legit 42. He's a guard, so it's harder for guards, PGs, to age. Look at Chris Paul. It's harder for them to age because they're so small. And they cut the most, right? Their bodies are a little bit smaller, so it's a little bit more for cutting. Like, 7-footers' bodies, they're quick to go because you're not supposed to be cutting and running in tight, spaces at 7 foot or however tall they are. So let's get into overseas power rankings. At 5, I got Sterling Brown from Partizan. Partizan just won the ABA Liga, which is the Adriatic Basketball Association League, number 1. Partizan, you probably heard of Partizan. I don't have to tell you what Partizan is and their significance. But at number 5, I got Sterling Brown. Number 4, I got Jared Harper. He was the Euro Cup MVP. Euro Cup MVP. And before the postpones of the Winners League champions, the Winners League playoffs or finals, because it is the championship round, he was hooping, man. He's hooping. Number 3, we got Huertas Marcelinho. What more can I say? 42-year-old, double MVP, Champions League MVP, ACB MVP. What more can I say? At number 2, we got Nigel Hayes. He did 23-9 in the EuroLeague championship game. That enough. Like, that's good enough for me, man. Like, you doing 23-9 on the biggest stage in Abu Dhabi, with the most pressure on you. He's got the highest EuroLeague output for one game. He's got the scoring record. He's legitimate now. He's talking about going back to the NBA. It's possible. We'll see what happens with that. And at number 1, we got TJ Shorts. I just mentioned it. He had 30 points in their first finals matchup against Monaco. Shorts has been... The other day, he had a game where he had like 22 minutes and 31 points. Like, he regularly has 40s and 30s PIRs, performance index ratings. So, number 1, I think he's the best player overseas right now. Kendrick Nunn's not on this list only because what happened in the EuroLeague playoffs. And he's in a tough Greek series against Olympiacos. We'll see how he does. We'll see. But right now, that's my 5. So, before we wrap up today, I want to get into, because I talked a little bit about the Israeli, basketball league getting postponed and players not knowing. I was very hard on Patrick Beverley for going over there, and I kind of knew. I was like, it's not going to last the whole season just because from what I know. You put an ex-NBA player in that kind of situation, like, we all know how that's going to go, But I just wanted to read this quick story about Maurice Creek. And Mo Creek is a 33-year-old basketball player. And when he was 31 years old, he played in the Ukraine Super League. And it's a respected league. It's one of those leagues that you go and play in and you can advance. If you do very well in this league, it's a stepping stone to an even bigger league. And he was stuck in the Ukraine, right? He was stuck there for a little bit. And I just want to give you guys context about the things that some overseas players have to deal with. That's why I say you have to make your decisions on where you want to play outside of just basketball. You can't just look at the hoops, because you still got to live in these places. So, this is an excerpt from ESPN. The story goes: the car inches through the streets of Mykolaiv, a small city in southern Ukraine. We're always playing in some small cities in these countries. That he called home for the past 2 months. The American basketball player is terrified of being spotted by soldiers. Don't get caught, he repeats it to himself. He practices the 2 phrases he had memorized in Ukrainian and Russian. Don't shoot, I'm American. So he's practicing this over and over in the mirror. He's saying, I got to get this right, because if I don't get it right, who knows? Huddling in a bomb shelter, hearing bombs around him and believing he was about to die in the invasion. The driver pulls over to a Ukrainian checkpoint, and Creek shudders in his seat. He reaches out the window and hands over his passport to the soldier. He's in the car with 2 women, the wife and mother-in-law of his coach. They're leaving the husband and son-in-law behind. Guilt gnaws at Creek, knowing his assistant coach and countless Ukrainians are still in danger and they won't have a way out. He prays he still does. He fears the Ukrainian soldiers will send him back or ask him to join the fight. They don't know my story. They don't know I'm American, he's thinking. They hand him his passport back, he exhales, and they drive on. Despite having attended, this is the most important part right here. Despite having attended practice for months and playing in 3 games, Creek had not been paid. Further, team officials downplayed the emerging conflict, saying everything will blow over with Russia. They told Creek the league would not be suspended and they wouldn't let him out his contract because if he left, he wouldn't get paid and he'd be out of a job. According to reports by Yahoo Sports, Creek's case is not an isolated one. Other American basketball players in the Ukraine have been put in similar situations where breaking their contracts and fleeing meant foregoing their paychecks. According to team rosters on Eurobasket, more than 30 American players played in a portion of the Ukraine season. So that's what I'm saying. They put... I'm laughing, but it's really not funny. But that's what I'm saying. They will put you in this position, and they will only address the basketball. Not just, extreme measures like this where there's actual WAR. But, there could be so many other factors involved outside of hoops, and they're only going to tell you about the hoops. So you have to make your own mind up and say, is this a place that I want to live in? Is this a place that I feel comfortable in? Right? I know guys that didn't take opportunities in Germany because they felt that the country or the town was racist. And that's not for me to say, you shouldn't do that or you should do that. That's on you. If you don't feel comfortable in a place for one day, you're probably not going to feel comfortable for, 200 days or however long we end up staying in these countries. So, that's pretty much it for today. I want you guys to write down in the comments anything that you may have been intrigued about or, anything that you want me to cover next time. And also, I want you to write down questions. I'm going to do a Q&A in the next episode. So write down your questions. Let me know what you think. Excuse me. So we're going to sign out. Episode 1. Foreign Buckets. Get used to the name. Get used to my name, Dwayne Morgan, a.k.a. Chip Overseas, a.k.a. Mr. Foreign Buckets. All right? And we're going to get up with you guys. Stay tuned and subscribe for episode 2. Peace.